Welcome to an exciting journey into the world of auctions. We will navigate the legal intricacies, explore digital innovations, delve into the economic impact, uncover hidden treasures, and ensure your confidence with consumer protection. So whether you're a seasoned pro or a curious newcomer, this is your backstage pass to the voice of auction. Gift and Philip, thank you so much for joining. I can, first of all, I'll use this opportunity to congratulate you both on the stellar performance that you've put out in the auction industry. I mean, that's why you're sitting here. That's why Sai has selected you. But Gift, can you show the people what you normally do when you're at a live auction? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, do it.
That's a bit of a hard one, on the block. It's like asking a doctor, show me how you do a vasectomy immediately, right there and then. It's a bit difficult. Listen, I think auctioneering is an art, and you either have it or you don't. And I can tell you now, this man is gifted. I've heard gifted. Yes.
Well, gifted. You guys have just been.
I've seen him and heard him on the podium, and I've seen him in action as well. But I always think it's very far-fetched to try and compare auctioneers, because each one has his own chant based on how he's learned how to become an auctioneer. I've got a tobacco industry kind of like chant, because that's the kind of industry that I came from as a youngster, learning how to become an auctioneer. So I've got what they call a machine gun chant. And it almost goes something like, will you go 45 and 5, will you go to 55, will you go to 60, 65,
now
that's
70,
it,
that's it,
what about 80,
that's
will you go to
it,
85
that's
and 90, 90, 95, will you go to 100 now, what about 110? So it's all in how you've
Wait, Philip, do yours.
To become an auctioneer.
Do yours.
It's like it's always nerve-wracking just before you start an auction, because obviously sometimes you do tend to say you take it in, you breathe out and stuff like that, and then you concentrate on how you want to go faster every time. So I would just like always practice just beforehand of an auction. I would just like big pramak, 10 goes 5, goes 10, 10 go 5, go 20, 20 go 5, go 30. So that's everyone's, as Gift said, everyone's got their own different chant and the way they do things. Some tend to use more full words, and some tend to use more the numbers or the rands in our view. So
I promise you, if you teach me how to chant like that, I'll buy you a car from here. Well, Gift, thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that beautiful starter. But how has live auction evolved over time?
Yeah, listen, the auction industry in itself, we're going back, I think, if I'm not mistaken, to the 1937s, when, if I'm not mistaken, when the first auction was ever held. Philip said it earlier. It is the truest form of ascertaining what is the true market value of an asset. And over time, there's been different kinds of auctions that have been done, themed auctions specific to specific assets. So each auction kind of like space has its own kind of like environment. When you're doing cattle auctions, it's slightly different. They've evolved as well. When you're doing car auctions, when you're doing furniture. So in each space, you'll find that the auction industry kind of like changes. I think as an auctioneer, you need to be versatile. You need to find yourself being able to perform on any platform. If I'm called today, to go and auction horses, I should be able to adapt as an auctioneer and be able to do that. If I'm asked to go and auction art, my chant will change. My mannerisms as an auctioneer will change. My chant will change. The way I call the numbers, the spacing in between those numbers will change. If I'm selling cattle, you'll find it goes a little bit more quicker. Sometimes if you're selling tobacco, for instance, people don't even need to hear you. They're literally using signs, but you are auctioning in particular. So it evolves on a day-to-day basis depending on the asset that you're actually selling. As far as the process is concerned, yes, like we said today, we are now moving into an era where the online auctions have become, quite prevalent. It is the direction that the world is moving to. Everything is becoming digital. We as auctioneers are no longer selling our voices and our art and our craft. We're now selling systems that become disposal solutions for people out there. That's exactly what we are now selling. So I could just go and put my system into any kind of environment and say, use my platform in order for you to be able to get to the end user because I have the database. So it takes away from that ability to stand on the podium and show off your art, show off your creativity, your chant, whatever you want to call it. I believe and love live auctions because the adrenaline, the ability to interact with your buyer, you know, getting him there, seeing the excitement on his face. I feed off that energy as an auctioneer. It makes me work harder. It takes me to that next elevated level as an auctioneer. And I think even for the buyer too, he gets excited and he's part of this. You know, like Philip said, you know, they also like that hype. You know, that adrenaline, there's a sense of fear that comes with it. Am I overspending? Am I buying right? And
Am I getting it?
You know, am I going to get it or am I going to lose it, you know? And that's the whole beauty and the art of auctioneering. You know?
Well, thank you so much for that insight. You know, with this that you said that auctioning rather is something that has to do with the emotions of the people. Philip, do you think the way you evoke a buyer's emotion actually decides the amount of money they spend for live auctions?
Yes, most definitely. I think, especially when it comes to a personal thing, because a lot of, for instance, there's something you like on an auction, your wife is next to you as well, and you can feel her energy saying, "Listen, I want this, I need this now." And then obviously you standing with a bidder's card, and then obviously the guy across you is always he's thinking exactly the same. So he's also wanting the same item. Then obviously it becomes a personal thing, and the passion evolves, and then it doesn't matter if he's going to overpay it. He just wants to make sure that his wife gets it. So that's one of the biggest things. So passion definitely creates what you're going to pay at the end of the day for that item. Most definitely.
Well, thanks for that as well. I would like to also throw this question at you. What sort of items can actually be auctioned at, you know, live events? What sort of items?
I think anything that's movable, really. I think anything that's movable. So you can also add to that. I don't think there's any other thing you can
Listen,
say.
anything is sellable, and there's a buyer for everything.
Yeah.
You know, he's got a saying that if there was somebody that bought it before, there will definitely be somebody else that's going to buy it again. Whether it's immovable property or you are actually referring to movables, anything is literal. You can sell a brick. Literally, you could auction it off. As long as you have the right buyers in the room and you've got an auctioneer and you've got a set price, you've got a reserve price, people will bid. The laws of supply and demand will always determine, you know, if anything is sellable or not. If right now there's a demand for your shoes, we can put them on auction.
Not my shoes.
Exactly. We might not be selling them today, but the laws of supply and demand will always dictate. And in that space, an auction is created immediately.
Still stays the fastest way.
You know, just to educate our viewers as well, I want to understand, are there certain rules and etiquettes that, I'll throw this at Gift. Are there certain rules and etiquette that, you know, buyers and auctioneers need to have in mind before coming to live auctions?
Yeah.
I'll start off with Gift on that.
I think as an auctioneer, you're always guilty until you prove yourself innocent. Purely because of the stigma that in the past was always associated with auctions, in the sense that people always thought if there's an auction, it's either deceased estate, a liquidation, somebody wasn't able to pay for their debts, or, you know, there was always some kind of negative, you know, connotation towards auctions. And because of that, when people come to auctions, they always come with a little bit of, let me put it this way, they are reserved. In the sense that, you know, they're scared, are we going to get done in, you know, is the auctioneer innocent? In the past, you know, auctioneers have been accused of so many things. Oh no, he's not taking the bids, or there's something else happening in the background or something like that. So as an auctioneer and representing an industry of auctioneers, I want to have an ethical approach to the way that I handle the auction, so that my buyers feel confident, they feel comfortable, they know that they are there, they're going to get the asset and they're going to pay for it, and it's going to be at the right price, and there was no gray area created in any way possible. And for me as an auctioneer, that's the first thing I think of before I get into an auction. As a buyer as well, and Philip, you can add on to this. Sometimes buyers come and they create syndicates, they create rings because they want to pull the price down. It's not ethical from their side, because as an auctioneer, you're trying to get the best price possible for your seller. But they're also coming and trying to pull the price down because they're trying to get a bargain and get away with murder. So in between there's a very fine, thin line that we as auctioneers and buyers have to meet. And it's kind of like a common ground that we need to meet. And once we are all there, then you have a perfect auction.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for that. Philip, I'll just put this to you. What ways has technology actually affected, live auctions? People might not want to sit in a room.
He's definitely the right person to ask that question.
What ways, has the new trends, technology affected auctioneering?
Listen, I think the online perspective, I don't think it's bad, because obviously when you get a guy that's in Cape Town and the assets that's been auctioned is in Joburg, I reckon that's obviously the bonus point for the guy in Cape Town, because then he doesn't have to pay all those expenses to come down to Joburg to buy an item. So yeah, it's a two-way thing. Obviously, I like the live on-site auctions more, because I think you can create less. What's the right word? You can create less. You need to help me out.
I think of the word that you
confusion. You create less confusion towards describing contents, obviously, because the guys see it physically on a live on-site auction, and you obviously get the right feel. So it has evolved, and we obviously need to stay with the time. But I think a live on-site auction still stays, for me, perspective, the best way to sell an item, no confusion afterwards. It's the easiest way for me. Easy money as well online, but live on site
still has that thrill and all of that. Well, Gift, are there? I just want you to put in one or two words on this. Are there ways that you all as auctioneers, or your association is working to make the live auction thing, to keep it on, for it never to go, because we're really moving fast in a technology way. So are there ways that you guys have decided that we'll make this more exciting so people can still come for live auctions, even if they're in Joburg, they're in Cape Town, they should be able to invest that money to come and see the items that they're buying?
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to add on a little bit to what Philip was talking about. As an auctioneer, you wanna create an exciting environment, and I believe that as much as online auctions are coming in, the asset determines what platform we should be using. I truly believe that there are some assets that cannot be sold on an online platform. Guys need to come and see and view and touch and feel. And most recently I come out of a salvage space where we're selling salvage vehicles, accident damaged vehicles. Selling vehicles like that on an online platform is all good and fine, but if you're purchasing a vehicle in Durban and you're sitting in Joburg online and you haven't seen the vehicle and you're really reliant on the pictures and the information that you've been given, are you truly putting yourself out there in terms of what your spend is? Or are you being reserved because you're thinking, what if the car arrives and there's a hole in the sump, or there's a part that's missing, or the gear knob is being taken off? You don't truly fully understand what exactly you're buying yourself into. Whereas if you come to a live auction, you can open the bonnet, you can go underneath the car, you can have a look, you can feel, you can even ask them to start the car for you. You listen to the engine, is there oil? All the other nitty-gritties, the small technicalities that will allow you to spend that extra R1. And I always say, yes, an extra R1 that the auctioneer tries to get out of you, if you look at it in the long run, over 2,000 lots becomes what? Becomes 2,000 Rand extra for the seller. So it's unavoidable that each asset should dictate for itself to say, I want to be sold on a live auction, or I want to be sold on an online platform. And the intelligence of the auctioneer to be able to dictate, to say, like Philip is saying, which assets should we be putting on online and move with the times, and which assets should we still continue to sell on live auctions, because that is the best way and the most exciting way to do it. Yeah.
It still stays a tradition. So live on-site auction stays a tradition, because you come there to the auction itself, and let's say you don't buy anything, but you go because it's a tradition, and end up buying a Boerewors roll or something like that, and just listen to the auctioneer's chant. It's a tradition.
Family outing.
Yeah, it's a family
outing.
On a Saturday, or
kids love hearing the chant. They come there and they
I
mesmerize.
love hearing the chant. I want you to do
Some guys just come there because they like to watch it, and they just like being mesmerized by the way the interaction happens between the auctioneer and the buyers and your bid spotters on the floor, the energy.
Look
and
how much money this
you
guy's
don't,
got.
you don't have to buy anything.
Just like at the SIA AGM, I bought an artwork that I don't even need, but just want to do.
You want to be part of the excitement. You want to be part of the excitement. And that's what
it's something you don't want to be left out of. You can't sit down there and you're not saying 250. There's someone that, it's something I like so much, and I bet that SIA should be very proud of you. I mean, why not? This is why you guys are sitting here. Thank you so much for this insightful conversation, and I think I've learned something new, and I hope that our viewers have learned something. Don't forget to tell us, ask questions, leave your comments there, and we definitely will be answering you. Thanks for tuning in.